we have about 10 minutes left. So I'm going to have to make this talk a little bit quick. I give lots of different workshops that go into stuff like this in much more depth. Can change happen? Okay? We seem so entrenched in what we're doing today. Can change really happen? Well, I pose some thoughts to you. You know, when St. Paul was run out of Ephesus, lucky to be alive, when he was trying to bring Christianity to the pagans, well, I bet he wondered if Christianity was ever going to stick. And St. Thomas in 72 CE, he was a Christian missionary in India, again, trying to convert the pagans. Well, he actually had a vision of Kali that scared him to death. I can't help but wonder if he wondered how successful they were going to be, if things would change from paganism to Christianity. Or if you were a pagan in Rome, you probably, never thought things were ever going to change. Likewise, if you were a slave in the South, we just heard on the news today, it's the anniversary of the first black baseball player. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that, blacks weren't even allowed to play baseball, much less become our president. And look how close Hillary Clinton came to being president. So, and not to mention the suffragettes, the women who suffered so much, who risked jail, institutionalization, just so women could have the right to vote. These things were not that long ago, a lot of these things that happened. These were just a few decades ago. So when we think, can things change? Yes, things can change. Things can change if enough people will it, if the right circumstances come together that force it. And I don't know about you, but could things get much worse? So the point is, with the sacred feminine, the idea is, goddess is a big umbrella. She is like the poster girl for diversity. She doesn't say there's only one goddess, that you should only worship me, that you should, go on a crusade or have a fatwa, with people who don't, who don't believe in your religion. Instead, no. She has, thousands of faces across continents and cultures. She is about diversity. And because we have lost this idea of diversity under patriarchy, what have we ended up with? We ended up with crusades, fatwas, inquisitions. We have Protestants fighting Catholics, Arabs fighting Jews, Christians fighting Muslims. We're taught that man is entitled to subjugate women, that they're the masters of the planet, that the natural resources are here to be exploited. Well, there are many of us who believe, that this isn't the way it was supposed to be. This is not natural. What was natural got turned on its head, and this is really unnatural. And the idea of bringing together masculine values and sacred feminine values, female values, they balance each other out. One complements the other, okay? And you think about women especially. What has it cost women, this patriarchal world, okay? Here's a list. Domestic violence, female genital mutilation, sexism. 3 in 5 women are penetrated in their lifetime without their permission. 70% of women retire in poverty. While being the majority of the gender on the planet, we have less than 20% female representation in Congress, 17% in academia in corporate America. And women and children, they live at the margins and with the worst health, education, human rights, and mortality rates and access to power. White women are still paid about 74 cents on the dollar, and if you're black or Hispanic, it's worse. There's still bride burning. There's still stoning for being raped, okay? We have obsessive and unhealthy pornography. We have women being discouraged to be leaders. We still have arranged marriages. Evangelicals talk about the new feminism, which is really about, having women still be submissive and dependent. We have human trafficking. We have, some Christian organizations that tell women in order to be a good Christian, well, you can get a divorce if your husband abandons you or he commits adultery, but you can't get a divorce if you're abused. I mean, what kind of message does that send to women? Female children are still killed in poor countries because they'll cost the family a dowry. Women's menstrual cycles are dirty and taboo. Or you think about Big Pharma. They actually want to control women's menstrual cycles. Take a pill, get rid of it. Your menstrual cycle, your lifeblood, your sacred blood, the thing that enables you to be a life giver. Just get rid of it. It's just a curse, right? We hear that under patriarchy, sex is dirty and unclean, and so too by association or women. And people are still talking about ways to get rid of contraception and women's reproductive rights. Women have seriously suffered under patriarchy. And this idea of the sacred feminine, these things would be no more. These things would go away because there would be equality, or they should anyway, because of the values of the sacred feminine. Other ideas under a sacred feminine values, gender roles may blur. Men and women would be more whole as they embrace their more authentic self instead of living in this little box that society says men should be like this and women should be like that. Women won't settle for inequality, and because they will recognize the divine within. And men would see the divine within women as well. Both genders would learn the wisdom of how they complement each other, how we need each other for balance. So, how are we time-wise? Okay. Well, I'll leave you with just a couple thoughts, and then I'll take questions. I don't know how many of you saw the movie Avatar. Raise a hand. Anybody like? Okay. Did you like the movie Avatar?
Yes.
Okay. Well, Avatar is like Goddess Church. I've had so many people email me that the ideals that we saw on Pandora, those would so very easily fit within a goddess advocate paradigm. So if you think, and all the people that you know who liked Avatar, I mean, it so upset the Pope. He had to come out and actually say nature will never replace religion, because so many people were just in love with the movie, in love with these ideas, these values, these principles. So when you ask yourself, could things change? Well, how did you react to that movie? How did you react to those new values? Okay? So that's what people want. I think a lot of people do. That's what they're starved for. And I think that's just a good example in popular culture of the type of values and benchmarks and ideals the sacred feminine offers. Okay? So because of time, I really can't get into this much more. I do have other talks that get into more specifics about goddess mythology, how it can actually be applied, to how we would shape society and transform values. But, the talk is only so long tonight. So any questions?